Right,
Yeah, when
right there. And whatever conversation we just had is not going to see the light of day, right, Jim?
correct. Copy. Solid copy.
Look how red he's gone too, and that's not the
That's the
artificial
camera.
filter.
That's the camera.
Yeah, sure.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking
Maybe.
of cameras, have a look at Tio's in classic mode at the moment. He's
Howdy, everybody.
Tio dug out his old VHS camera from the 80s.
Oh, we're live. I got
Yeah, we're live.
Frank?
Yeah, no,
While you're
it's all right. Frank, just keep
slurping on your lollipop.
yeah, that's fine. So, Tio,
You were
how's the
afraid there for a
1950s?
second, weren't you, Hayden? You were afraid. You didn't know what I was
Very
going to
much.
say.
It's great.
How's the
Everybody's
1950s?
radio. It's great. Everybody's radio drifts, so nobody bitches about my radio.
How's the noise level? It must be pretty low.
There's no noise level at all, and I'm working the one frequency that I'm allowed to use with the crystal that I have in my radio, and I had to wait 20 minutes for the thing to warm up, so the tubes were all set, and it was great.
Excellent. How's the show everyone too? For some reason though, you're in the 50s and you managed to get the biggest pop filter on the planet too.
Yes, it is.
Hi everybody, it's great to be here.
You should do an entire video
awesome.
with that like that.
I can't even stop laughing. My eyes are tearing up.
Hi everyone in the chat.
Hey, Paul.
We're talking about setting up your ham shack and ask you questions. We've already got a couple that have rolled in, and I think Frank, you said that you're setting up your ham shack. What are you doing?
Since this year, I said the first quarter this year, I have UHF VHF going, and it's still in the works. I still got to buy a couple of things, and I'll be building out my UHF VHF part of the ham shack. I'm hoping next month. I'm gonna maybe order some things on this stream, just so I can get it done.
Well,
I order a lot of things every time we have somebody on the channel. I ended up with a radio or two, and
what? So FM only, FM VHF UHF, or are you looking all mode?
I did it. I split it up in two stages. So the first stage, I need to run a bunch of grounding wire. I need to run, and grounding wire is expensive. And I have the worst case scenario. The main ground for the house is on the opposite corner where I'm going to have all the antennas come in. So I'm going to have to run a bonding wire all the way around the house. And then you need to also drill in a bunch of ground poles periodically to keep everything on the same grounding potential. So that's going to cost a lot of money buying that copper, buying those grounding rods, and buying the HF radio, which I have another one now. That's why I split it up into two phases to break the money out. So HF was going to be expensive. I'm going to have to buy a radio, and that's going to be the major purchase during that phase. But during this phase is all the wires, the cabling. And since I already had the UHF VHF radio sitting around, since I already have an antenna for it, I was like, let's kind of cut costs off of the phase one and just do UHF VHF only, so I can at least get on the air around here. And then later this summer, my plan was to then eventually buy the radio and buy everything else out, and then build out phase two, which will just be running additional HF wires and trenching a hole and ground and burying the cable, and then putting out the HF antenna.
You're going all out. This sounds like a massive project. I hope you're going to document it all. By the way.
Oh, I am. I have my first video up of my plans. What I'm going to do was posted last year before almost every appliance in my house died. Like, the goal was to do this last year. Then I was gearing up to spend money, and then my washing machine croaked. So I had to replace that, and that took away funds. And then I finally paid that off. I'm like, I'm about to do this again, and my dryer died.
Yeah.
No.
But that's right. You don't need to do washing. You just need to get on 80 meters, 40 meters. Sorry.
And then I paid that off, and my second AC unit went out, and I had to replace it. Everything in the house has pretty much been replaced now, except for the water heater. And bless that water heater, because I don't want it to go.
Jim, you're in black and white mode too. What's going on there?
Consolidating.
Only Jim.
I want to be like Steve when I grow up. Frank, you're going to be living in a van down by the river if you keep tearing up trees. You just can't have nice things, man.
Down by the river,
know, right? I know.
Eating government cheese.
They Ben. All right, so we've got a couple of questions rolling in. Keep rolling them in for anything that you want us to try and answer about your setting up your ham shack. Maybe you've got a question for Frank about what he's going to do. Liberty Cave starts us off with, what colour should I paint the walls in my shack for better DX propagation? This is an important question.
Black.
Copper.
Copper.
Yes.
Make sure
Well,
no
that-
signal gets into the room.
Yeah,
Right.
that'll help any feedback into the radios, any of the computers. It's just you build your shack inside a Faraday cage, the only thing leaves it is those antenna wires. I love it.
Have you been in a Faraday cage, like in a test setup environment? You walk in and it's quite interesting to watch the bars on your phone just disappear like out of thin air, and your Wi-Fi just doesn't work. It's pretty cool.
Does one of those sound booths where you go in and they do the hearing test count? Because those are almost very much a Faraday cage.
Probably
fix
if
your
they're on the
screen,
bottom
man.
floor. Yeah, what's going on here?
Oh,
You're showing us. Oh, we've got a bit of a mirror
there we
going on.
go.
That's better.
Or Frank and I needed
Just
to
messing
see.
with OBX. Sorry. Setting up for my stream later, making sure I get all the shots. Yes. Yeah. There's those the sound booths. I've been inside of those, and I like it just because all the world goes quiet.
Mm. At least it gets rid of the noise, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Andy, how many radios in a shack on one earthing point?
Earthing point.
All
Grounding
of them.
point?
Ground. All of them.
Yeah.
All
He's
of
British.
the radios.
It's earthing. Earth is what they call it,
Grounding, yeah.
There's crazy Brits.
right? Hayden, do you call it earth? Do you call it earthing or do you call it grounding?
Well, we interchange them both, but mainly grounding, I think. I think grounding's probably more. We don't really use bonding.
I mean, there's no limit to how much you can ground. You're going to tie it all. You want to tie it all together so it has the same ground reference.
Potential.
Yes, the same ground potential. And bonding is just tying all the things together before you tie them to the ground.
Yeah.
So, like what I do is I have a copper pipe mounted behind the radio kit where the radio stack is. The copper pipe has a connector that's the ground wire that goes outside to the rod in the ground. And then I fasten all the ground wires from the radio gear to that copper pipe. So, I mean, I've got, well, 2 radios and a tuner at the moment here, and then out in the shop, 2 tuners and a radio. And
Was that that wasn't your photo. I saw a photo a week or 2 ago, and yeah, someone's had their ham shack bench, and at the back of the bench they had quite a large. They went and bought the plumbing pipe, the copper pipe, and they just ran that at the back of their. No, it might have been in it might have been in QST, and they ran it at the back of their shack desk or whatever with some the normal saddles that you use to hold it to walls and stuff. And then they then connected all of their radios to that one copper length, and then they just had one run down to an earth point outside.
that's what I've got. I didn't invent it. I just stole it out of QST or a YouTube video. I saw it somewhere.
So does that copper pipe eventually go into the ground for the house, or does it
No,
go straight outside?
No, it's a piece of copper, Frank, that's like, I don't know, 18, 24 inches long.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. I just bought a length of copper. I sawed off a piece and then drilled holes in for self-tappers to drill in. And then I just fastened the ground wires from the radio gear to the copper pipe.
Yep.
And then a heavy gauge wire from the copper pipe out to the ground rod outside.
The ground
Copper's
rod outside,
expensive,
is
man.
that the house ground rod, or you just drill your own ground rod there?
I put in a separate ground rod right outside this room where my shack
And then
is.
aren't you supposed to bond that ground wire to the house ground also?
You're supposed to, but considering that my ground rod is on this side of the house and the other one is on the other corner,
I didn't say it was gonna be
That's
easy.
my situation too.
I ain't gonna do
back
it.
in my day, we used to
Hang
ground
on, you are
everything to
still in your
everything.
day. You're still in your day.
You're still in your day, son. Yeah, I think you're supposed to tie it to the house ground, but I'm not.
Here we go. Here's the authority.
Kyle.
Kyle.
All the
So,
grounds need to be connected.
Don't cheap
together.
out and get some and
Ads. Zuki. Welcome, Kyle.
Kyle. I knew somebody was going to call me out for that because I knew
Look,
it was.
the arms are
come
folded
on,
even.
Really?
Feelings, nothing
I
more
know
than
it's not.
feelings.
I know it's not according to the ARRL book,
Oops.
but it's just practical. It is grounded. It's got an earth ground. Go with God.
On today's show, all about grounding. We talk about
Oh no,
grounding.
we could do an entire hour on grounding.
Right, and people get all wound
Still
up
wouldn't be
about.
right.
Talk to Ape about grounding. Oh Lord,
He leaves the room.
If you ask 5 hams what their opinion on grounding is, they're going to give you 20 different answers.
Yep.
True enough.
So here's a question though. You run your own separate station ground though, but you don't run it just you don't bond it to the house ground by
Correct.
itself, which I think is a test question, as someone said in the chat somewhere. I think 45 said. Kyle, yes. So when they're not connected together, they have different potentials. Lightning loves different potentials. It's actually a very good uber geek. It's actually a very good very good point on repeater sites when we run grounding there. We have to make sure that that all of the grounds are tied together, because otherwise you get different potentials, and that can even occur across hundreds of meters away. That can be an issue.
So if you were to do that, so let me ask this question then to the hive mind that's already thrashing my buzz for today. So if I want to tie the shack ground to the house ground, I have outlets right here that are grounded to the house ground system. Could I just tap one of those outlets ground?
Now, son, you're talking logic here. That's not allowed.
This goes to the same place. And I'm not talking the neutral. I'm talking the safety ground, the green wire.
Do you
the
have
ground and the neutral are hooked together now too?
Yes.
Well,
it's a whole nother story.
You've already got grounded because you have MEN over there, don't you? In your electrical system, mains earth neutral.
Yes.
Your earth and neutrals joined together. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know, because
the neutral.
Who knows another thing?
Yeah, the hot is the hot, and then the neutral and the safety ground are tied together.
It's bonded in the buzz bar and the switchboard.
Yep, exactly, right.
Yep.
So I mean, I can do that. That's easy enough. The best way would be to do it outside with heavy cable, but Jim is not going to trench around his house and lay double-aught wire from this ground rod on this corner to that.
That's my plan.
Why do you need to trench it though? Just leave it on the just put it in some pipe or something.
Well, true. I guess you could.
So the mowers don't hit it.
Yeah, well, that's why you put it in some pipe.
Yeah,
well,
you could just lay
more money now.
Lay it in PVC. So
how
you
much
could put
money
the
I'm
ground
spending
wire
on
in
copper
PVC.
wire?
Just rather than wire, just run copper pipe all the way around. It's cheap. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I'm going to try to bury it at least an inch below the ground so the mowers don't hit it, and do a grounding rod every 10 feet so the grounds don't feed off each other. And I'm doing that because I'm in Texas. Lightning potential is huge. Even close strikes can generate enough to cause bad stuff to happen. So, and lightning arresters everywhere. Lightning arrest everything.
So,
I'm the complete opposite. I don't worry about lightning here because it's so infrequent. So,
we just had a storm Thursday, and I had quarter-inch hail. Or 25 cent quarter hail.
They're going
Not
after
quarter
you,
inch,
aren't
quarter
they,
hail.
Jim?
There's a lot of hate about the grounding thing. Listen, you stop it. All y'all. Ape doesn't even ground his radio. He's running bare. No ground on that boy's radio. I'm going to unplug mine.
Jim gets all up in the camera. Listen here, youngie.
Uber says squirrel.
Ape's not even here to defend himself. You can't do that.
It doesn't stop him. He'll be all right. He's a big boy.
So what's the next question?
I mean, there's a lot
I was
of
going to
people
say, I
who
think
don't
we need to
ground.
move on from the grounding, right?
True. Leave me alone, people. Stop
This will be a good one. Here we go. So, what is the minimum number of one brands of radio you have to be a fanboy?
it. Ask
Well,
One, I think.
That's a percentage of the rest of the radios in your collection. If you only have one radio and it's a Yaesu, then you're a Yaesu fanboy.
Yes, fanboy.
If you have 50 radios and one of them's a Yaesu, then who knows what you are.
Three
Yet.
or more.
What about
Yeah.
if you have a Yaesu radio, but you have Icom pin-up posters all over your wall? What
Then
happens
you
then?
might have a problem.
What are you doing in my shack? I actually think I have more Yaesu radios than I have ICOM radios, but I like ICOM radios better. So what does that make me?
Smart.
I have
I don't know.
one
Don't know.
Yaesu. Yeah, just one, and the rest are, and one Kenwood and a bunch of ICOMs.
You're
Two Yaesu sitting on the desk right now.
Yeah.
it's got to be your favorite radio though. You'd be a flex man though, wouldn't you, Jim?
Now,
Yeah, now
Yeah.
I hate that I spent the money on the 7610 3 years ago. I'm like,
Jim, what's your favorite radio this week?
Yeah.
the Flex is pretty cool.
Danny says, not licensed yet, but have bought a DX Commander Classic and looking to pick up an FT DX10. What's a good power supply to buy for this radio? I'm a fan of big linear power supplies with thumping transformers just because they're quiet and they'll last forever.
Mine vibrates on the desk and makes noise, so I removed it and put in a switching power supply. Then I removed that and put in a battery because I like to change stuff every week.
Well,
Mine
battery
vibrates when the hairdryer's running upstairs. It starts humming.
To tease that out a little bit there, Tio. Will that be RF quieter to run off the battery and
Yes.
then just have a trickle charger on it the whole time versus a power supply?
Well, no, you added the trickle charger. You potentially added noise. So
There's a switching
run off
supply,
the
yeah.
battery and nothing else. And my switching power supply didn't generate any noise that I could find anywhere. I mean, I actually went looking for it
Yeah,
because
same here.
mine has a noise offset, so you should be able to find the noise and then wiggle the knob and move it. And I was going to make a video and like, hey, look how well this feature works. Who cares about switching power supply noise? And I don't have any switching power supply noise.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah, well, same thing. I tried.
It's the same
I
power supply.
got the tiny SA and put the antenna on it and waved it all around, and I've never noticed a problem
What-
with mine. I don't remember what I've
what
even
brands?
got.
I'm not sure about what brands you've got over there because they rebadge them and they call them different.
There's probably only
different names.
three kinds in the entire world.
Probably.
It's the same one.
What's the
whether
one?
you're, yeah,
What's the one that starts with A over there?
Astron.
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 Astron's good power supplies, and they make both linear and switching power supplies. So
Samlex.
something.
I got a Elinco.
QJE is the one that
Yep.
I have. That's a switching power supply.
You've with switching power supplies, you've got to watch what you do get. Don't get like computer switching power supplies because that's just going to ruin your day. They're going to be noisy. The better ones are the ones that are probably more than likely the ones that are sold by ham retailers are the ones that you'll be okay with as far as noise are concerned.
This is the one I have.
That looks all right.
It looks nice.
It looks nice.
She's,
I haven't
an
ran it on
Elinco.
HF yet.
She looks fine up front.
Yeah.
It's got to be an Elinco.
Looking
It's really
fine
good.
from behind.
I don't know if it's switching or linear. It doesn't.
It's
say.
switching. You're
Switching.
holding it in your hand.
What
Yeah.
does it say?
Yeah. Well, it's just
Oh.
the size. It's tiny, so
Okay.
it's switching. Otherwise, it would have a transformer inside like this and weigh 50 pounds.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It'd have
Yeah.
a transformer as big as your head.
Oh, look, it has
it's
some
I don't know where
US
mine
It's a
is.
honker.
USB
Mine's
ports.
behind me here. I've got a switching one. Which sits on the
Frank,
bench
welcome
here
to
that
your
you
new
can't see.
power supply.
I had this. Oh, I can't remember how long I had this for. I
Frank,
use
that
it
looks
as empty
that
charge.
actually looks really nice. Is that USB on the front?
Yeah.
Your
Yep.
logo's in the way, Frank. Okay, there you go.
I can do this eventually.
Oh, does it? It's got a voltage adjust knob. Does it have a little button that stops you from adjusting the voltage or bumping it by accident?
No, it
A
doesn't.
detent. A detent.
Yeah.
A Detent.
Or,
Frank
or-
And
noise-
Frank has a noise offset. Yeah.
Noise
I
offset.
wish.
look at that.
Show us your hole,
For
Frank.
That's a
Yeah.
Frank. How much did that cost?
Like 150 ish.
That's-
3 years ago.
That's not
30
wrong
amps?
with that.
30
Yeah.
amps. Yeah. And in the
Hmm.
back, it has the nice screw down knobs here.
Binding posts.
Do they come
Yeah.
all the way off?
Amen.
because the ones that don't are a pain in the. Oh yes,
Yes, they are.
He's
Lovely.
went
never
into
gonna
my
find
water.
that again.
It went into my
Lovely.
Rudy's cup.
Hayden, you just found my new pet peeve, by the way. I went to put an antenna up on an LDG Balin, a 9-to-1. And so
And the binding post
I had
doesn't
just
come
had
off.
the wire wrapped and it pulled out. So I said, well, I'm going to put ring terminals on this so it doesn't happen again. So I go put a really beautiful ring terminal on there. It's all shrink wrapped. Can't get the knob off.
And then you have to go and cut the ring terminal in
Yep.
half so that you can make it into a spade connector.
Son of a biscuit. Shut the front door.
It's not
Excellent.
pancake.
There you go. There's a good. Speaking, Jim. How do you know what to get for a Balin/Unnon?
This is an ape question. He can probably pontificate better.
Nah,
But the
it's easy.
first part of this is, what's the impedance of your antenna going to be? Because that's going to tell you what kind of a Balin you need.
What's the difference between a Balin and an Unnon, though? So one's balanced to unbalanced and one's unbalanced to unbalanced.
Unbalanced, yeah. So like on a 9-to-1
connector.
yeah, the connector. On a 9-to-1 random wire, which is the one I was talking about with the LDG, you're going to have about 450 ohms of impedance. So you want to get that impedance off that antenna down to what makes the radio happy, which is real close to 50. So that's why 9-to-1. On the Cartenna, the Apollo, you've got whatever 49 times 50 is, 2450. Does that sound right, Steve? Two or 3,000.
Yeah, 2450.
2450. So you got 24,000, 2,400, 2,540.
2,450.
2,450.
Christ, there's too much numbers.
2.4 thousand.
Yeah. So you have a 49-to-1 Balin because 2450 divided by 49 gets you to 50 ohms. So that is your first priority. And then you can get into, like Hayden was saying, or Steve, one of them, if you have twin lead, you got to get that to coax. So that's an unun at that point. And then there are some other cases that I'm a little fuzzy on when you'd use them. And that would be like a 1-to-1 current Balin. So would you use that on a dipole, something like that?
Yeah, current versus voltage is one of the ones I haven't figured out yet.
Okay, well, good. I don't feel so bad.
It's a current Balin is to stop common mode current from flowing down your coax line.
And that
So
does
that's
that
when-
that doesn't affect the impedance any?
It shouldn't affect the impedance, no. But you could have a before putting one in, you could have an impedance matching issue.
Right.
Because of standing waves on the coax line. So for most of the time, if you've got your coax wrapped around a toroid, that's a 1-to-1 current Balin because you're not doing any impedance transformation.
Right.
The same with like an ugly Balin or something like that.
So what makes the voltage Balin, or did I miss that? You said the
what
current
Jim just-
Balin.
Yeah, I said the current Balin, and Jim said the voltage Balin, didn't he?
So I missed it.
I wasn't listening either. Sorry, Jim.
Say it again, Jim.
There we go. Marvin, voltage Balin, impedance to impedance.
Yeah.
Impedance transformation.
Thank you, Marvin.
Marvin's.
Somebody was listening.
At least
Marvin's
Marvin
cool.
was listening.
Y'all are heathens.
Why have we got a spider running across my screen? Go away.
Be careful. Those down there might kill you. It's Australia.
Actually, that one was a different coloured one. It probably would have. I'll let you know. I'll let you know if it bit me on the finger. If I faint halfway through the stream, send help.
Right. We'll
Send
call
help.
whatever the Australian 911 is. 999.
Triple O.
Triple O.
Yep. 999. If you do dial 911 here, it will go through to a triple O. So.
That's for the Americans.
Yep, pretty much.
99.
Alan's got any thoughts on antenna location and checking for the impact of the landscape on incoming signals?
It's a good question.
Field strength
I
meter,
guess-
yeah.
Yeah, I guess you're gonna get. If it depends on how far away you are from, like, if you've got a hill directly behind you or a large mountain or something, you're probably, depending on how far away that is going to affect how you receive in that direction, and what band as well, and what frequency, and all that other stuff.
Any structures will have an effect on it too. To some effect.
And what type of antenna as well. If it's a Yagi antenna, then that's going to be different to a dipole antenna because of the radiation pattern of the antenna, where you're pointing it, all that sort of stuff. If it's just for HF and you're wanting to know how you receive, put up a temporary antenna if you can. I'm gathering that you're probably purchasing a new property or something and you're not quite sure how well you're going to receive there, but not sure what else we could offer on that one.
Well, when I started, I bought an antenna that said no radials, vertical, 10 to 80, because I didn't know any better. And I had a tripod that I bought all this stuff from Gigaparts and put it up, and it was sitting pretty close next to my house, and it was horrible. And when I dealt with having coax running through the middle of the yard and temporarily stuck it in the middle of the backyard, even the reception on that crappy antenna got tremendously better. And now I have a brick house with a metal roof. So yeah.
Don't put it in the attic. It won't radiate very well, especially with a tin roof.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of jealous of those guys that can throw antennas in their attic. I have a metal roof, so it ain't gonna happen.
I mean, to be honest, get it set up first and then start making improvements from there. That's going to tell you a lot of what you don't know. You're gonna learn a lot of unknowns right away.
Yep.
You don't really have, unless you've got a lot of money, you don't really have the ability to purchase a property purely for your radio purposes. You got to work with what you've got. So,
right.
HOAs,
yeah.
terrible.
Yeah, and I think the guy that holds the record for the most amount of CW contacts, confirmed QSOs, is living in a 3-story townhouse, and his antenna wraps around his stairwell going up to the 3rd story. Run with what you got. I mean,
honey, don't go to bed right now.
Is the most important.
Oh, look out! Look who's waltzed in. Why isn't he in the stream? We've already covered everything that he would have been able to answer for us.
Well, that's why he's coming in now.
It's true.
He don't have his big boy pants on. He's still wearing his short pants.
Right.
Right. Next question. Sorry, I'm getting distracted by Discord. Best methods for keeping interference from electronics computers out of the radio equipment. Oh, we're back to grounding again.
And this is choking everything. Choke all the things.
We do need. No, we say choke. We say choke.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you say
but
choke?
it's not grounding. It's not grounding. It's choking.
Oh, okay.
Choking
Sorry.
and grounding.
So where would you
thought that was
best
a different
put the
term you
chokes?
used.
Anything coming into the computer? Anything that has a wire going to the computer?
Well, yeah, you can get USB cables with
Ferrites built in.
Ferrites built in.
Might not be enough though.
The trip light ones are like the gold standard of USB cables. Apparently, I'm like, yeah,
which is odd.
Good. Yeah,
I mean it's true. It's what everybody uses, and they all work well. But trip light's a battery maker. Why USB cables, guys?
So I guess they bought them from a good supply company overseas, somewhere.
Anything,
but I mean, Ape should be here for this because he can talk all about common mode current and grounding and choking also.
No, but he'd go, yeah, but folks out there, they don't bond their equipment and all this stuff. Just get in here, Ape. I mean, I can't do a Ape impersonation.
That accent gives it away, buddy. You just can't.
So I've got a couple of videos.
A Southern Dakota accent or wherever he's from.
Right. I've got a couple of videos on my channel, 2 in particular. One where I take a ICOM 706 on 2 meters and a Raspberry Pi with a noisy power supply, and I start putting ferrite beads on it. I think it took like 6 to choke out the noise. And you can watch it as you're clamping on more beads. The noise goes down and down and down, and then it's finally gone. And it depends on which end of the power cord you put it on. And, it's a hunt game. And then I have another one for the 705 where with certain antennas, the 705 is known to cause problems when you connect it up to the computer on the USB because the signal goes all the way through to the computer. And so I put a 240/43 toroid on the USB cable, and that got rid of it. And that was the only thing that worked. And I did 2 videos because the first one I'm like, this is what works. Everybody's like, no, you need to try these other 17 things. Okay, so I tried the other 17 things.
And which one of
Scott,
did they all work or just
no? Just the toroid on the USB cable works.
It's kind of a moving target too, because and Scott just said the thing I was fixing to say.
yeah.
I have
It's
more
the
of an
same
issue
thing,
with
isn't it?
RFI buzzing in the computer than I do with the computer causing problems with the radio.
But then it works both ways to mitigate the problem. You can you can do the same methods on both your computer and your station as well.
Right.
I was going to mention, Tio, that video that you did with the USB cable that plugs into the PC and the 705, and when you showed it not wrapped versus wrapped around the toroid, the amount of noise that you choked off is just absolutely ridiculous.
Well, if I would go to transmit on FT8 on that computer, FT8 WSJTX software would lock up whether it was transmitting or not, and the radio itself would lock up. So I'd have to hard power off the radio and then kill the and then kill the WSJTX software and then plug it all back in and go through the whole process all over again.
Can you give us this is KM9G with your little hat tip that you do in black and white? Because it does look pretty vintage. Howdy, everybody.
Howdy, everybody. Steve here, KM9G.
Oh, there we go. That's the
Playing hits and hits from the stacks of wax.
That's the promo
Stacks
for
and
next
stacks
week.
of wax and wax.
just out of curiosity, Tio, was that with a digirig, or was that no? You said
No,
705.
the 705
that was
doesn't
straight.
need one.
Okay.
Straight USB cable. Yeah, and it's something wrong with the 705 itself. Everybody talks about the 705 having RFI issues.
I had a
and
similar issue with the digirig, and there's a new cable he sells that fixes it, and it has 2 chokes, one on each end, and it's beautiful. Highly recommend it. That's going to come out not this week, but next week. It's just night and day. But I had the same thing. Yeah, pretty much the same thing, just like
You
that.
mean this cable?
Yeah.
That's all it is, and it is USB-C on one end and USB-A on the other, and then it's got 2 roids on it.
Mm-hmm. And same thing you were talking about when I went to transmit. If I was in the radiation pattern, not in line with my antenna, WSJTs lock up. I hear the drivers unload and reload, and I had to unplug everything and plug it back in, and it will just happen again and again and again.
Yeah,
but
Ape is right.
What did Ape say?
Ape said that the problem is with the antenna, which is actually how I started the conversation. Thanks for joining us, Ape.
He hasn't joined us
right. He's always right. I just had to understand why he was right.
Uber Geek said he's upgraded to truck stop cables, not gas station cables.
And the fancy truck stop, fancy gas station.
Mm-hmm.
And Scott's right, because you just the more you wrap, the more attenuation you get.
Yep.
So,
I mean, you're basically building an inductor. So
Kyle's also correct about the problem with the cables is that some of those consumer ones you don't really know. I think they just put them on there just for looks.
It's 3D printed plastic.
Could be.
It probably
In
is.
a heat shrink. You don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah. What is our next question?
Kyle got the truth of that one.
We should have just done a grounding stream. Do you have issue with grounding at the antenna and at the operator's station, such as vertical? Would you maybe have problems with ground loops picking up noise? I think he's talking about at the antenna ground and then at the station ground. You'd want to bond those 2 suckers together, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Because as Kyle said, you got to be bonded.
And the ARL, and somebody mentioned it, has an excellent book on grounding and bonding by Ward
Silver.
Ward Silver, yeah.
Remember a couple of years ago in the YouTubers Hamfest, Jason from Ham Radio TV, he did that interview with that guy about grounding. That was really interesting.
I remember that. That was a good show.
Yeah.
I think Jeff nailed on the noise. Bucky's cables are better than truck stop cables.
Wawa or nothing, son. Just saying.
My people.
No, I haven't.
The number of runs of coax proportional to the number of radios times the number of antennas? Sorry, math. No, the only math question that you need to know for anything related to ham radio is n+1 is the correct number.
Right.
Yes.
That is the correct number of radios, the correct number of antennas, and the correct amount of coax you need to purchase is n+1.
Is the number of runs of coax proportional to the number? I think that was... Okay. I thought that was a serious question.
I don't think it is a serious
question. I'm not entirely sure because it sounds really scientific. But I'm like, he's actually me on.
He's got two 8-port switches, but they're married like this. So there's, multiple antennas on this end and multiple radios on this end, and then you can just switch between whichever one you want to switch between.
And I've looked at Flex's accessories. They sell some kind of like 8 or 12 port remote antenna switch. I'm like, holy crap.
And the one that's outside needs to be remote.
Do you mind if I put up another 7 or 9 antennas in our backyard? Would that be okay, baby?
Well, see, your first mistake was asking.
Yeah.
Don't ask.
If you see if you have a look on my TikTok account, for those that do have TikTok, I did a bit of a trend thing, which was to do with antennas and towers for people. So check that out. It's pretty funny. Do you guys ever consider operating position, i.e. desk layout, radio height, and lighting? Well, some of us must, because some of us are taller than others, right, Steve?
Yes, I usually slouch.
Jason's not here. Where's Jason?
Fit in the camera.
Well, the booster seat broke, so he can't be on there.
Well, the VFO, that's the thing.
He's in the kiddie
VFO
stream next door.
Yep.
The VFO knob's going to be a different height for Steve compared to Jason, isn't it? So I think so. Oh, come on, mate. Don't ruin my show, all right?
My bad. Ape said something. Choke at the feed point.
Yes.
No, don't worry about Ape. Don't worry about him. He's not coming in the.
He didn't bother to show up, so he don't count anymore.
Yeah, it does.
Choke at the antenna feed point. Don't let RFI on the coax at all. Then choke at the radio. Yeah, the only reason I showed that is because it is very good advice. As always. Back to operating position, desk layout, radio height, and lighting. Yes, I think it's something that when you're setting up your shack and you're setting up your bench for all of your radios, it's something that you really need to consider is how you want it laid out, where you want your main radio, where you want your other radios, how you want to be able to, because you don't want to be able to leaning over and trying to see the buttons and all that other stuff. So definitely consider all of that stuff.
Whoa.
Don't ever do anything on YouTube, folks, because then you wind up with a tower of experimental power right there. And then I'm also doing a bunch of video editing stuff.
That looks like a bunch of RF
mess.
awesome.
This is a lot of FT
this is a lot of
8800.
If we had Teller, we could probably tell what all those are.
No, this is amazing. The 1950s, they had BTEC back around then.
Oh, you're right.
And Yaesu.
MFJ was just
MFJ.
MFJ's been around for a while. A good Yaesu
I was going to say, I don't think they've changed their manufacturing techniques from the 1950s.
It looks like an OSHA violation right there, son.
It is. Don't call the fire department. Don't call the fire department. I'll have
show us your power outlets. I want to see what they look like.
Oh, no.
How many power strips do you have?
Well, actually, I'm running on battery, so it's fine.
You just got double adapters everywhere.
Kyle could probably pontificate on that whole operating setup.
What talkies are you talking about, Ryan? What are you talking about?
Kyle can join the chat too if you want to. Just let me know and I'll send you a link. Actually,
well, I mean, he does all the contesting, right? So I imagine there's a whole set of things that he's pondered out about an operating setup.
Should my metal roof be bonded to my tower?
I'm not going to touch that one. Talk to your local fire marshal.
Well, talk to a licensed electrician.
I was going to say, unless you've got antennas on it, there's probably no point, is there?
Well, what I'm worried about is the highest point attracting the lightning, if that's, truth or myth. I'm not 100% sure. And then connecting that to your roof.
Well, I mean, the roof isn't grounded. I mean, mine's not. It's just sitting on top of a frame. There's no ground from the roof.
I have heard, and I don't know if it's against any kind of building codes or anything, where some electricians will bond a metal roof.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'll run a earth down the side of the, which I don't think it's correct. I don't know why they do it, but I've heard of some electricians doing it before. Maybe
Yeah,
they
I'm
need
not
their
sure why
license
you'd
revoked
want
or
to do
something.
that. Well, I mean, it could static to discharge any static that built up during weather events. I guess.
And here you go for those who are attending Contest University, which is just before Dayton in a couple of weeks, I think. They talk about operating position, chairs, ergonomics, because Kyle said if you sit for 36 hours straight, then you do want your all of your equipment to be at an easy reach and not going to hurt your back. In actual fact, I got a message the other day from when I took my general test. I had Caitlin, KD9, who?
OLM. No, KD9 WHO. Yeah. Sorry.
Oh, no. OLN.
No,
That's Carlos.
That's Carlos.
What are you doing?
You said KD9, and immediately I thought of the dummy.
What about me? SSB.
You hardly ever use your call sign.
That's true. Well, I never use my call sign.
I know your Australian one. I can't remember your US one.
She sent me a message because I mentioned, remember when I was doing the sweep around of the room, because that's what you have to do before your exam to make sure you're not cheating. I showed underneath the desk and I had the foot plate, the foot pedal. And she didn't understand how beneficial that was until she went contesting with Kyle and said it's changed her life, a PTT foot pedal. So
The foot
that's
pedals
the other
are
thing.
amazing.
Yeah, it saves the hand cramp and it frees up your hands too. It's great.
Right.
Even just not for contesting, just in general. So.
No, it's just when I was working field day, I forgot who had that foot pedal, but it was just typing and then just using it and just to be able to do other things and grab and pour another bottle of whiskey while you're talking.
Important things, man.
Oh yeah.
I saw a question about
which bar, the whiskey bar or the copper bar?
The beer fridge.
Sure. Yeah.
beer fridge.
Yes, the answer is yes.
I saw a question on there about
arm's
coax switches somewhere, Hayden.
This one. Do you guys
There
with
we go.
multiple antennas use coax switches? So I've got a coax switch here, which is just a normal AB coax switch, but I also do have a coax switch with a relay on it, so you can actually trigger it on and off just with 12 volts. So then that opens up a whole range of things. You could then plug in an IP relay board or something to turn it on and off remotely if you've got a remote station, or if you want to control it using some other method. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I use multiple
See,
antennas.
I thought about that. At my house, I have two hams. One's literally next door. He doesn't run a lot of power and he's early on. But down the street, 4 houses down, there's a stepper IR and he transmits full legal limit. When I've been on the radio and he's transmitting, it's just I need bandpass filters. So I thought about getting 2 antenna switches and putting bandpass filters in between them and then switching them all the way down to I'm going to go to 20. I'm going to go to 40, and I switch them all the way down. So the radio's coming in one, the antenna's going to the other, and then I can switch which bandpass filter I'm using. I think they make something nicer, but I don't know. It's just an idea. It'd be kind of cool to do that.
The only danger with coax switches and multiple antennas is make sure you're running off the right antenna.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've got, so on the 7610, I have 2 antennas. Well, I only have one up now, but I've had 2 antennas on it. And the antenna tuner is a MFJ 993, and it does the switching for me. So if I wanted to get super fancy, I could put up a coax switch and mix up another antenna or 2 in there and just, switch which antenna is routed to port 1 on the tuner. Or I could add, and the radio also does multiple antennas, both the Flex and the 7610. and they will switch the antennas for you. So if you have a radio that has 2 ports, gravy, because most cases you can software switch your antenna remotely from the radio. And I can on both of the ones I have. It'll work just fine.
Mm.
And unless you get a very expensive tuner, I've never seen my tuners, none of the tuners I have, and I have a couple of multi-port tuners, but they will not let you software switch the antenna port. You have to physically actually push a button, which is annoying.
You could make it software switchable though. You just wire over that switch.
Yeah.
With a relay.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's
Make sure that relay can take all that power.
well, no, you're just switching. So like the 993, the MFJ has a remote box for it. And I bought it thinking it was serial because it uses a 9-pin serial cable. And it just switches. That's all it does. And I've thought about doing kind of what you're talking about, Hayden, and setting up a relay to mash the button to change the antenna. But
the other thing too is if you do that, you also need some kind of feedback to tell you what state it's actually in, or you need to know what state it would normally be in.
Right.
Because if you're just kicking off a relay, you don't know what antenna you're actually on.
Right. Yeah. If you keep toggling it and you're like, well, which one am I on?
Yeah.
Kyle, I do need Node Red. I need to get that going. I just haven't made it happen.
Someone needs to teach me more about Node Red because I keep hearing about it, but I haven't looked into it enough. So I'm sure Kyle will do that.
I think he's doing a presentation at Hamvention, I believe.
Is he? Well, that's not going to do me much good, is it? Maybe I can watch it later. Or you can come on.
I'll take bootleg video.
Oh, you wouldn't steal a video. Kyle can
3D print a car, would you?
I mean, Frank will put it in his podcast either way, so whatever.
Kyle, you can come on the show and teach me all about Node Red and everyone about Node Red. I forgot.
Things.
I forgot about that. That this podcast. This was going to go on Ape's podcast. What podcast actually is that? Ape, Frank. What
they do
podcast
look
is
alike.
that?
They look kind of similar. I mean,
I am recording it for my audio podcast, so I'm going to use it as a banked episode. So if you go ahead and search for Tank Radio on any of your podcaster apps, you'll come across my audio podcast. And there is a couple of audio only drops in there. I think twice a month is audio only, and then I post my my. Am I low?
No. If you're listening to Frank's podcast, turn the volume down.
Let's look. See it. And my live streams go there. So there's a once a week drop, and just search Tank Radio.
As a disclaimer, this show was originally broadcast on the Ham Radio DX YouTube channel.
There will be a intro pushing everyone to use.
Starring temporarily offline.
also starring a special guest
Tank
appearance,
Radio.
FEP Labs Radio.
In black and white. Not that it actually matters because you can't see that.
You're hearing me in full hi-fi.
I am going to head out and get ready for my live stream coming up next. So thanks for having me on here, Hayden. You're amazing, and I see y'all next time.
No worries, Frank. We'll drop a link to your live stream coming up in the chat, eh?
Awesome. I appreciate it.
Aye.
7-3, y'all.
Hey.
See you, bud.
See ya.
Is he gone?
And then there were 3.
Just pop.
Yes,
There's Frank's streams coming.
Don't go there yet. We're not done. Go there after
No,
this.
don't go there. But that's coming up. Don't go yet. We've still got.
And for those of you listening to Frank's podcast, sorry, we can't tell you what Frank streams about.
Yeah,
we can't link you to it.
I should have said to him, does he allow swearing on his podcast? Because we might have to drop a couple before the end of the show. But then that would affect my channel. So have we got any other questions in the chat? Otherwise, talk amongst yourselves, pretty much, I guess.
Well, the coax question got a little derailed a bit.
It did. I'm trying to find it again.
Yes, you can use a coax switch. Get one that you're comfortable with. I've tested a couple of them, an expensive one and a mid-price one, and there's not a nickel's worth of electrical difference between the two. The Alpha Delta was a little better built. What was the other one? I can't remember what brand it was. It didn't have a detent for the ground position, but to ground.
I don't think it's a French
you
word.
You mean an indent?
No, detent is the word. I'm not saying it right.
I think
But
it's detent. I don't think it's French.
Had a stop specifically that would ground all 4 of the coaxes straight to the ground. And of course you would have the coax switch grounded also and bonded and certified, and you'd read a book about it. We've already been over that, so don't start with me, people.
We've been over the
But
disclaimer. Ideally
you'd have it grounded to your shack ground as well. And on the Alpha Delta, the 4-port one I've tested and bought, it has a stop in the middle that ties all of it to ground and disconnects all the antennas. The Daiwa was the other one I did, and it was a 2-port. It didn't have a stop, but if you turned it in the middle, it stopped and it had everything grounded. Same kind of deal. So, and I think the Alpha Delta had a lightning arrestor dingus built in it as well. But the question, when you're switching antennas, are you switching radios or are you switching antennas? So switching antenna is not really that big of a deal. Just make sure you know which one you're on. And if you don't have an antenna on all ports, it would behoove you to put a dummy load on those empty ports. So if you do screw the pooch and key down on that, you won't blow up the magic smoke out of your radio.
Hey, Derek, thank you for pointing that out. We did do a video on isolation.
Yeah.
I wonder if Derek's talking about his video and not mine.
Yeah, he did one. I did one. But if you're switching antennas, it's not that complicated. If you're switching radios, multiple radios to one antenna, then you've upped the difficulty factor a little bit. And when you have 2 radios operating at higher power than 5 watts or so, real close.
I was going to say, I think that question moves to the top of the list.
I can. Do you want me to go get some? Because I can
do
that.
Go ahead.
Do you
eat
it? Do you eat it, or is it? I mean, there's a lot of American food I won't touch.
All right. He's going to get it.
Okay.
So we'll have to talk amongst ourselves. He forgot I could do that.
Can we swear now?
Yeah, swear all you want. Everybody in the chat, swear away.
He needs some milk.
Awesome. So today on Ham Radio DX, we're going to talk about all the things you shouldn't do. Yeah, so putting a dummy load on your antenna switch chain is fantastic because you might switch over one day and then forget. And if you normally have an antenna there, it's okay. But if you don't, then your SWR is going to be really bad. And if you don't notice it, then your day is going to be really bad.
And it depends on what radio too, because newer radios are going to have a protection. And there's a name for that. I can't remember what it is, but they'll have protection built in. Fold back. That's right.
Yeah, they got a fold back circuit.
Oh.
Yeah, so Ryan's following up on that. He says, so switching radios is a power problem. No, it's not really a power problem. It's just if you switch the radio to an antenna that doesn't exist, then you've got a problem.
Well, and yeah, but the other point I was making, so at one point I had a 7300 and a 991A sitting together, and I would switch between them while they were both on.
Let me go get the other jar. It's out of date.
Will it taste worse? So,
and he's gone again.
Neither radio really liked it very well, regardless of the coax switch. So I had 2 radios going to one antenna, and the radios sitting right next to me. Well, they were stacked on top of each other.
So this is something
Ryan's comment.
Ryan's comment now is something you were bringing up, and I think you did find this to be true. If your SWR is too far out of whack, you'll pop that pill on the Alpha Delta antenna switch.
Depending, yeah. I've never tried it, but I suppose.
No, I think it said it. I think it said it in the directions.
I vaguely remember it.
I don't have one, so I'm going off of memory of a conversation that one of us had.
I don't have a radio I want to sacrifice at 100 watts to see if I can smoke the pill.
Right.
Back. So
they want to know if tastes like Marmite.
No. It turns out that they're both out of date, but it doesn't really matter anyway. It'd be fine.
It's bad when they make it.
What were you saying, Jim? You reckon that you don't like Vegemite? What's the problem?
He didn't pass out.
Son, you just sniffed it. I'm like, this.
It smells lovely. It smells lovely.
Zero reaction. He just went. Nothing.
It's bad when you actually can't see the bottom of the jar, right?
I've never had Vegemite, so I have no idea what it tastes like.
So you're not supposed to eat it off the spoon like this, but I can, because I'm used to it, I can deal with it. So,
I mean, what does it taste like? Is it like peanut butter or?
It's not. You're not supposed to eat it like peanut butter.
You put it on crackers.
Mm-hmm.
Put it on rice cakes for that extra bit of life.
You're supposed to. No, the correct way to eat it is you're supposed to have not old bread, but semi old bread. Put your butter like you normally do, and then you put a very, very thin layer of Vegemite on top.
Almost like it's not there.
You will not taste anything better. I can guarantee you, Jim. You will not. One day I'll send it over to you, and you'll be able to try it out.
I will eat it on camera if you send it.
All right,
I will
that's a
send
deal.
you Kaneka sausage. You will thank me. I will eat Vegemite, and
Excuse
I'll
me, what?
Die.
You'll send me a what? A sausage? I don't want a sausage.
Kaneka sausage. It's a local thing here.
Hang on, what's going on here? So 45 Auto was the one who said to do it, and he wasn't the one that sent the super chat. That's a bit of a cop out, isn't it?
Taylor ponied up though. So
Taylor ponied up some QAR. What is QAR?
Is that Qatar? Taylor, are you deployed?
Does that mean is that like 10,000 Australian dollars? Because that'd be awesome.
So it's like $1.50 in freedom dollars, or
probably.
He says earwax tastes better than Vegemite. When you say Marmite, I think it's some type of like small furry creature.
The Brits eat Marmite, I think.
This one's nearly out. No, I always say that you guys or anyone should enjoy Vegemite because it's basically yeast extract. It's basically beer. That's what it is. So there you go. But no, I can eat it in a small amount off the spoon, and not everyone can do that because they're not used to it. But I've eaten it all my life, so it tastes good. And Jody just wanted to point out, yes, I am in QST. And Rob, N1NUG, is in QST as well this month. And a couple of months ago, T.O. was in QST. Well, you weren't in QST, but you wrote for QST for the Workbench.
Oh, it was for the On the Air magazine. I am trying my best to write an article for every one of their magazines that comes out, the On the Air magazine. But their scheduling is difficult.
Harry Beer Wax. Okay.
They run a very tight ship with a very limited amount of staff. So.
And Aaron Lutz has offered to ship me some Vegemite.
Nice.
I need to look. Well, maybe I can find it here. Walmart might carry it. I don't know.
No, you'll have to get it from like an Australian store or something that sells stuff over there. But when you get it, then we'll do a stream and you can taste it. But
you put it on meat products or eggs?
No.
On bread, huh?
Bread mainly, crackers as well.
Crackers. What about like on white bread or wheat bread or rye bread?
Doesn't matter.
Okay.
As long as the best way is to butter the bread first. The best way is like a day old bread is probably the best. Toasted.
Something with a little
toasted.
Yeah, okay.
Slightly spiced yeast extract with vegetables. Vegemite has a tangy, savory taste that goes perfectly in sandwiches or other lunch foods.
I gotta try it. I got to try it. Aaron sent me some. I will eat it on Coffee and Ham Radios.
No California Proposition 65, so it won't give you cancer.
Well,
no,
that's a bonus.
Don't just give it a little while, Jim, and we'll do something. All right. So don't try it straight away. We'll try it. We'll send you some over. Or we'll get you some. I'll get you the legitimate, the genuine out of the factory here.
So you're saying the Canadians have like fake Vegemite?
It probably is fake Vegemite.
Okay. All right.
All right, we got. That's the biggest excuse I've ever heard. All right, Frank's up. We don't want to run into his time. Thank you very much, guys. If you've got a suggestion for asking Elmer next week, then please, please add that in the comments below after the fact. Well, that's the point.
This is the nonsense hour. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. See you guys. 7-3.
Bye, y'all.